Well, of course, they'll kill me if I don't ask you about Wet Hot American
Okay.
Summer because it did come back as a prequel series on Netflix and a sequel series. So, will it come back?
Oh, will it come back? I'm sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Sure.
Now this is where you really feel like you're on a boat.
So what I'd really like to talk to you about is the $7 billion flood testing industry.
Yeah, Don took me through it, but let me ask you again. Are you a leader? Because if you want this, you really have to dedicate yourself to it. You have to be aggressive, start firing people. Have you fired anybody yet?
Not yet.
Well, then you gotta fight. That's what it takes to be a CEO. That's what it takes to run a billion-dollar company. Is that what you really want?
Yes.
Good, then let's stop fucking around. What are you willing to do to get it?
We're working on a prototype, and we're hoping to get a meeting with a pharma company like Novartis.
And what's stopping you?
I'm having a hard time getting them to talk to me.
Then you gotta hustle. Oracle's first contract, do you remember?
Yeah, the software was still a mess.
You know what I said? I said nothing.
Nothing.
GTFM.
Get the fucking money.
Get the fucking money. Do you get the fucking money?
I get the fucking money. Yeah.
Then show me! Show me!
I get the fucking money. I get the fucking money.
Get the
I get
fucking
the fucking money.
money.
Get the fucking money.
I get the fucking money. I get the fucking
Yeah.
money.
Get it.
Get the fucking money!
Yeah. Get the fucking money.
I hope you didn't need that.
Welcome to Behind the Lens. Today I've got an Emmy-nominated director of the great limited series, The Dropout, and so many things, so many movies, first of all. Hello, my name is Doris. The Big Sick, great movie. The Lovebirds, Eyes of Tammy Faye, Academy Award-winning movie. Upcoming spoiler alert. In his own right, he's an actor, a comedian, a writer, a director, a producer, everything. Welcome, Michael Showalter.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, and congratulations on
Thank
the
you.
Emmy nomination.
Thank you.
This is a really interesting series, first of all, because there's so many opinions about Elizabeth Holmes out there.
Yeah.
And I don't think it presents it in such a black and white manner,
Yeah.
that I might have expected.
Yeah.
It's very complex and complicated, and it's still going on.
Yeah.
This is still,
The story.
yeah, the
Yes.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sonny, the other guy, just got his. He just, was sentenced to 12 counts of fraud and whatever. And yeah, I mean, I've myself just fascinated by the story and by Elizabeth Holmes as an onlooker. I remember seeing her on the cover of, I think it was the Sunday Times magazine in her black turtleneck and being really captivated by her. This is before everything had happened.
Yeah.
And so then to see the whole thing kind of unfold in front of our eyes, she's just a character that really fascinates me and clearly fascinates a lot of people.
Yeah, did you, as it was unfolding, have any idea or make any moves on turning it into what it's turned into now here?
No, but I followed. I definitely was aware that a show was being done, and I'm a bit, was a big fan of Liz Merriweather's and thought this is going to be an amazing show, and I'll definitely be watching it. And had
right
listened.
after you directed it.
Well, no. So I can tell you that then that as is the case with so many of these things, there were all kinds of changes happening, the pandemic and stops and starts and and so I think actually there were multiple different potential ways this could have gone, and I kind of showed up at the right time. And so no, I mean, it was for when it finally came back to the possibility of me directing it, I was like, oh my God, this is my dream job.
And you became a producer on it too.
And I became a producer on it. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And directed 4 episodes.
Yeah.
One of which is nominated. Is that the one you submitted, or the one you thought would be nominated? Or?
Is it Green Juice?
Yeah.
Green Juice? Yes. I think that was the episode that sort of felt like, that's the episode where she puts on the outfit.
Right.
And so it's sort of like the origin episode. I mean, she kind of discovers the character that is Elizabeth Holmes in that episode.
Yeah, which is interesting.
And so I can see how that was a kind of a turning point in the series as well.
Yeah.
Where she kind of, it was interesting. This was a show where like we were learning about the character as we were telling the story. It was like, oh, maybe that's why she,
Right.
it was sort of like, she found, I don't know if you've ever experienced, I would imagine you have, like where you have deadlines and you're afraid you can't meet your deadlines, or you have too much work and you're going, how am I ever going to do this?
That's
or
right.
you kind of know that the quality of the work that you're doing isn't what you're telling people is going to be, all of those things. And that I think a big question I had about Elizabeth Holmes, and we talked about it, is this sort of idea of like, how do you get up every day and go to work when you know that you have like bodies piling up
Right.
in the garage or whatever the saying would be, that there's so much going on behind the scenes. How do you keep showing up every day? And what we sort of realized, or sort of got to start to be fascinated, was the idea is that she created a person
Right.
that could deal with it.
Yeah.
And that person is that figure, Elizabeth Holmes, in the black turtleneck that we all became so infatuated with, who was someone that could handle it, who was someone that never saw anything. All the glass was always half full. It was this incredibly, if you build it, they will come kind of persona. And that part of her that maybe did know that did have more of a conscience about it, or that was more insecure about it, she kind of buried that person. She swept that character, that part of herself, under the rug.
She was truly in denial?
In denial, yeah.
Do you think she was that manipulative that she...
No, I think she was. I think it's a combination. I don't think that it was a conscious thing. I'm going to invent this alter ego. I think it was an organic evolution, but it's sort of like a coping mechanism. You just sort of create this version of yourself that can handle it. And that's sort of what happened. I think in that episode, you sort of see the creation of that other version of herself that could handle it.
Yeah, a lot of people in that situation, Trump being one, often refers to Trump in the third person.
Yeah.
And I think he has a lot of that too, in a deeper way in many ways. But it's fascinating. And so you as a director getting to do these 4 episodes are really showing a character here that we're going to get deeper into and maybe have different opinions of along the way as we're watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of think in my 4 episodes, by episode 5, she's sort of gone.
Yeah.
The Elizabeth that we met in the beginning is sort of no longer there.
Right.
And so it's almost like, I lived with a version of the character that in episodes 5 through 8 doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. And she's much more of this kind of slightly tyrannical, remote character, and a little bit of a moving target. And the show becomes a lot, in a way, almost more about the people around Elizabeth and less about Elizabeth, because Elizabeth herself becomes very elusive.
Yeah. How do you like that limited series format? I mean, it's kind of unusual for a director coming in and doing half a movie.
I did, and I did 2. I did the Shrink Next Door.
Right, of course.
And then I did the Dropout. And in both, I directed the first 4 episodes, and then in the middle, someone else came in and did the other 4. And I mean, it's like stopping shooting a movie in the middle. That's really what it feels like.
That's so weird.
Yeah, like you do all the prep, you do all the you do all the front end stuff of the casting and working on the script and creating the whole look and feeling of the show, and then halfway through you're done.
And do you have to have consultations on the style that you've set here with the next directors that come? Are you all working cohesively?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of wanting each director to come in and bring their own unique sensibility, but also within a kind of these are the kind of ideas that we're working with, and that's both of a cinematic thing, of some of the vocabulary cinematically in terms of handheld and the type of lenses that we're using or whatever. There is a sort of a little bit of an approach, but then also knowing that each director is going to come in and devise their own shot list and all of that stuff. But it's it's intended it's intended to be a fluid thing, so that
Right.
you watch most limited shows, it's multiple directors, but the look of the show seems to be quite consistent.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I coming, that's the producer part of it,
Yeah.
is that I'm there to say, hey, we expect the show to look a certain way and feel a
Exactly
certain
like
way.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, it's really seamless, if you ask me.
I agree. I think the other directors did a phenomenal job. Francesca Grigorini, who also got nominated for an Emmy, and her episodes are like totally seamless and fantastic. Yeah.
Amazing. You seem to be drawn in a lot of ways to real life people, considering your beginnings in comedy and everything else is different. But as a director or as a writer, I mean, things that are based on either directly on people or real life situations that happen to them. The Big Sick, obviously. Eyes of Tammy Faye. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
directing a 2-time Academy
Thank you.
Award-winning movie. Jessica Chastain, phenomenal there. Spoiler alert with our friend Michael Ausiello. TV line here, a PMC thing that he invented, and this is his story as well. You've just done that movie.
And then obviously Dropout, and then Shrink Next Door.
And both of those. Yeah. So what is it?
and even the Vanessa Bayer show is it's sort of semi-autobiographical story for her. I don't know. I guess in all honesty, though, I will say when I read scripts, the true stories do attract me.
Right.
If I read a story that's just kind of something completely made up, there's something about the truth of it, that it's real, that this really happened. I know as a consumer, I am myself more interested in documentary or, reality based kind of thing. And so I think there is something in, or even another, whether it's The Staircase or Pam and Tommy or something, like I like seeing some historical element to it. Interests me quite a bit.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Because your beginnings, if you don't know, he's an actor, a comedian. You did all of this with The State.
Yeah.
Which is a great comedy troupe, whatever you want to call them, that did a television series and so many other things. And of course, Wet Hot American Summer was a major breakthrough and continue. It has a life of its own.
I know.
It seems like
totally.
You can't kill that thing.
Can't kill it.
So how does one come from that kind of comic background into what you're doing, now as a director?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure all the thing, comedy is tragedy or whatever, like all that stuff. They're so linked. And I think Doris, Hello, My Name is Doris was sort of the transition from sort of my like purely comedic part of my career. But though even the whether it was Wet Hot American Summer or Stella or any of that stuff, there was always an undercurrent of anxiety and that I was always drawn to characters that have some kind of, feel like outsiders or out of time in some way. The Baxter, yes.
Totally. Yeah, you starred,
Yes, the Baxter. And then I think Doris is really like this movie where you have this like incredibly high concept comic protagonist who reveals a part of herself that is just like purely dramatic, and heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah,
Watching her in that house, all that hoarding, everything that she did, and again, self-denial.
And when she says to Stephen Root, I could have had those things, and you realize she's sacrificed so much.
Just the scene with the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. So I think that movie, and quite honestly, working with her, she really was like, "You're good at this. You can do this." And
Sally Field.
And she's in this, and she's in Spoiler Alert.
Yeah.
She's got a great role in Spoiler Alert.
Oh, wow.
And so it was just kind of this moment of like, I think, a little bit of an artistic evolution of wanting to kind of tell different kind of stories, still wanting to work with comedy as an element of it. And I think Dropout's really funny. I think Shrink Next Door is really funny. Obviously, The Big Sick and things like that. So there's always wanting to have that humor there, but then also wanting to get underneath it a little bit. And I do think comedians are some of the more, sad types of people that you'll meet, and I'm probably fit into that category a little bit. Yeah.
You're sad?
I'm certainly not the happiest person in the world, but it's a state of being that I'm happy with my life.
Right.
It's not quite depression, but it's like cynical. cynical. You know, it's like actually it's idealistic and cynical at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
but-
it's like yeah. So that's it. I just kind of like started wanting to tell different kinds of stories, and then Doris was really that incredible opportunity for me
Yeah.
to do it, and then it kind of went from there. And then Kumail Nanjiani was in Doris, and Kumail has like a kind of a good supporting role in Doris, and then he is like, I wrote this screenplay, you should take a look at it. And meanwhile, Judd Apatow, and so like Doris and I think it was Trainwreck were at South by Southwest Festival at the same time, and so we saw each other's movies, and we were on an airplane together. And hey, how are you? Da da da. And oh yeah, Kumail sent me that script. I thought it was really good. And then before you knew it, we were working on Big Sick together. And then
that leads to
that was kind of
Lovebirds,
and then Lovebirds, and then
which he's in.
and Jessica and I met Jessica on maybe doing a different movie. She had sold a project to Universal, and I was attached to direct that, and so I kind of got to know her through that. And she was working on The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and in the same way that I was fascinated by The Dropout and Elizabeth Holmes, I was like, hey, by the way, I'm so excited for that Eyes of Tammy Faye movie because I'm so fascinated by her, and I remember that time, and and then they had a director, and the director fell out, and so there I was taking a meeting, and
Wow.
all of a sudden I'm making a movie with Jessica Chastain. That was pretty cool.
Making an
That was pretty cool.
Oscar-winning
Making an Oscar-winning
performance there.
Yep.
Does that run through your head? Oh, wow, you're watching this come alive and going on, I think she's going to the Oscars.
Oh God! I mean, you can't do that. You're dead if you do that. I can definitely say, I was very keenly aware of how good the performance was.
Yeah,
we all were, and very much felt as was the way I felt when working with Sally on Doris or Amanda Seyfried on Dropout. Was so much of my job is to make sure that these fantastic actresses have everything they need to give the best possible performance, and that my job is to create a safe environment for them where they feel supported and protected and free and all of these different things. And so, that in each case, it's but in all instances, it's so wonderful to watch them do their thing. And yeah, Jessica disappeared into the character. It was fantastic.
Which is something Sally Field, who I'm just a huge fan
Yeah.
of, has done, and against all odds of the way she started in the business in sitcoms and things. And it was this extraordinary actress right underneath that, only given the chance.
Yeah, and it's like breathing for them.
Yeah.
For all three of them. But having just worked with Sally, it's like it's a switch, and they turn it on and they turn it off, and it's so real, and I love it. I love it. And I have no desire to be on camera either. So I get to just be a fan. I get to just be a fan of the great work that's being done.
Well, you've been on camera.
I have,
so
and
much.
I have, and it never fully felt right, and it was okay, but it wasn't nearly as gratifying as what I get to do behind the camera.
Well, of course, they'll kill me if I don't ask you about Wet Hot American Summer, because it did come back as a prequel series on Netflix and a sequel series.
Yeah.
And, of course, the original had this incredible cast.
Yes.
When you look back, it's like American Graffiti.
Yeah.
All of these people became stars.
Bradley Cooper, Liz Banks.
Oh, my God.
Amy Poehler, Paul Rudd,
Molly
Shannon.
Shannon.
Chris Maloney.
David Hyde Pierce.
Janine
Garofalo. I mean, you go on and on.
On and on and on. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
So it's definitely got a place in the heartland here, with audiences. So will it come back?
Oh, will it come back? I'm sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Sure. Yeah, I mean.
Well, did you know at the time you're doing that this is going to spawn, a whole generation?
No. No. You kind of hope that. I mean, it's funny. It's like, I think, again, I grew up, like, Animal House was my favorite movie when I was in, like, 4th grade.
Oh, okay.
That was, like, the movie that I saw and was like, my brain exploded into a million pieces. Just this fun. It seemed like they were having so much fun, but it's also a really good movie. I mean, I haven't seen it enough recently to know if it would like hold up today. But just the spirit of it, Belushi and all of it, and it's this incredible attention to detail in that movie. It's a really good movie,
Right.
from a filmmaking standpoint. And so I think for me, Wet Hot was always sort of like we were making our Animal House,
Right.
and or even American Graffiti, which is another movie that I loved and grew up loving. So you hoped that it would have that spirit and that it would reach an audience, but I mean, I never thought it was going to be like the kind of cult movie that it is. I more hoped that it had been successful when it actually was, when we made it. Like I would take just it having been successful at the moment over it being a cult movie any day, but
Yeah.
I'm thrilled with what's happened with it.
Yeah, it lives on.
It lives
you
on.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. And before we go, tell me about Spoiler Alert. I do know the story, and I know Mike Osiello, and
Yeah.
it's coming out from Focus Features this fall.
Focus Features in December. Jim Parsons, Sally Field, this relatively unknown British actor named Ben Aldridge, who's phenomenal in the film. A sad story, a little bit of a tearjerker. Really excited about it, really proud of it, and it's funny and romantic, and I think audiences will really respond to it. It came out really well. I'm very excited for it.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have the Emmys. Good luck there.
Thank you so much.
With The Dropout, which if you haven't seen The Dropout, you've got to check out this show on Hulu. Well, Hulu's doing
Oh my
so
God.
many amazing
Oh
things
yeah,
now.
they're crushing it.
Seems to be the place to go.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
Especially your favorite real life stories that they're doing a lot of too.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck, and thank you for joining us on Behind the Lens, Michael Showalter.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Pete. Good to see you.